Hi everyone, welcome to Office Hours. My name is Ariella Coombs and I'm one of the career support specialists here at Work Daily. Welcome for those of you who are new. Let's see who's here. Steve, Kim, Cynthia, Dina, Mimi, Christine. Awesome, thanks so much for being here. So I've got a really great topic today. So I wanted to really go over some habits that you can start incorporating into your life to be better at interviewing. It also can transfer into networking and things like that. So it'll be a fun session today. But I typically kick off these sessions, these 30-minute sessions, with a topic to get things going, and then I'll answer questions on the back end of this session. And I'm so excited to answer those questions for you. Be sure to think about them now. They don't have to be related to the topic, but I'm more than happy to answer those for you. For those of you who are new, this chat does get a little bit crazy, so we can't always answer those questions. But to increase your chances, make sure that you put question in all caps. That way we can find them easier in the chat. And then if you want your questions guaranteed answered, definitely check out our program. We have a few great options and you can always get your questions answered. We also have a brand new private Facebook group that has a free trial, so you can get questions answered inside there as well. So definitely check that out, and more information will be posted in the chat for sure. All right, so as you get your questions ready, I'm going to dive in to this topic of habits and how you can be, training yourself to be gaining soft skills that you can actually use inside interviews, networking, things like that. So I want to kind of talk about first what you're being judged on in an interview when you go in. So the first thing that you need to be thinking about when you're going into an interview is, okay, what are they trying to learn from me to figure out if I should move forward? And something that all interviewers are judging you on are three things. So it's the first thing is your personality. Personality, are you going to be a fit inside this organization, inside this team? Aptitude, do you have the capability to do the job? And of course your experience, do you have the skill sets to actually do that job? Now, that personality is key, and it's the first thing that you're judged on, because if you're not really a fit for the team, then they're probably not going to move you forward, even if you have great skills and even if you have the aptitude to do the job. So it's important that you not only be yourself, but you also kind of incorporate your soft skill sets into this interview, so you can show them, yes, you can be a great team player, you can get along with people, you can connect with others easily. Those are all very important in terms of moving forward and being successful in a team. So if you want to make a great first impression in that interview or that interview process, because you're probably going to have to do multiple interviews, it's important for you to connect with that interviewer and kind of incorporate some better habits when you are talking to people. So these are all things that we can all work on when inside and outside of job search. So I just kind of wanted to go over some of these for you today. So the first thing that I constantly see, and I do it myself, is fidgeting. If you're fidgeting, if you're moving around nervously, if you're swiveling in your chair, it can make the other person uncomfortable. It can make them, feel nervous as well. And that's not a great impression to make, because when you're talking to somebody, that person will probably mirror your actions and your, what you're giving off there, that vibe that you're giving off. So if you're constantly feeling nervous and looking like you're nervous or uncomfortable, it's going to make that other person uncomfortable, and that's going to just, make that first impression a little bit negative. So I want you to replace that fidgeting habit with a smile. So every time you feel like I have to move nervously or have to swivel in my chair, I want you to smile instead. Okay, so this is important because not only does it make you appear to be less nervous, but it also makes you more approachable. You're positive. You're replacing that negative, uncomfortable habit with something positive instead. And it can really help you to be more likable, make a better impression, and just seem like a more positive person, more positive and confident as well. So definitely, whenever you're trying to if you're fidgeting or if you're feeling nervous, definitely try to incorporate this into your daily life. Replace it with a smile instead. So, instead of going like this, try to smile. Make it a habit. It's kind of like a muscle you need to develop. Okay, and this is something that we all do. I do it. So definitely just try to retrain yourself to replace that bad habit with a better one. Okay, and this is really going to help you in interviewing, in networking, just meeting people in general. It's really going to be important for you. Okay, another habit that you could be replacing is looking away when you're talking to someone. Okay, I know it's awkward when you have to feel like you're staring somebody right in the face and you're staring into their soul essentially, but it's really important that you do make eye contact and that you do put your attention on this person, because if you're looking away, if you're acting distracted, it makes it seem like you're hiding something or you're uncomfortable, or there's something else going on. So it's important that you replace that habit of looking away, acting disinterested, with making that eye contact. And if you're uncomfortable doing this, if you don't want to just stare into that other person's face the entire time, of course that's totally fine. A trick that you can do is look at the bridge of their nose instead every once in a while. Just kind of keep your focus on that person without being totally locked in their eyes. The other thing that you could be doing is when you're thinking about something, you can gather your thoughts and kind of look elsewhere in the room to gather your thoughts. But when you're talking to that person, when you are having a conversation, making sure that you keep that eye contact, for the most part, it's really important, because it makes you look like you're giving them your full attention. You're really dedicating this moment to this conversation, and it definitely helps you make that great first impression that you're trying to make during interviews. And again, in networking, meeting people, it's so important. Because if you don't, have you ever talked to somebody and they're always looking away or they're acting disinterested? How does that make you feel? Does it make you feel uncomfortable, like you're not worth their time, that they're untrustworthy? All these things can be interpreted with something as simple as this type of body language. So it's important for you to kind of incorporate this into those conversations you're having on a daily basis. So that way, when you go into the interview, you're confident, you look confident, and you're giving them your full attention. Okay? Okay, so another bad habit that you kind of want to think about is pretending to listen to people. And I know I do this constantly. It's a habit that I personally need to work on. But when you hear words and you actually listen to words, it's completely different, right? So you can be in a conversation and you can be nodding your head, and you can that those words are going into your brain, but you're not actually listening to what they're saying in this conversation. And when you do that, you can't really be there in that conversation. It's hard to come up with follow-up questions. It's hard to really give your attention to this person because you're not really truly listening. And those words just don't register in your brain, so it makes it harder to have that conversation. So in the end, you're making it harder on yourself when you're not actually listening. You're hearing the words, but you're not actually listening, when you're kind of just letting them, that person talk to you as opposed to engaging in that conversation. So, for example, a lot of people, when they're introducing themselves or they're meeting a new person, they're so focused on saying their own names when they're, getting that introduction, that they completely miss the other person's name. It could register like they said something to you. Their name could have registered and gone in one ear and out the other, because you're not really listening. You're focused more on what you're saying. And again, it doesn't really help you, because you'll forget that person's name. And later when you're trying to introduce them to somebody else, when you're having a conversation and someone refers back to something that they had said and you don't know what it is, you don't remember because you weren't actually listening. Again, if you're trying to ask good follow-up questions to show that you're engaged, that you're interested, if you're not actually listening in that conversation, it's going to be so much harder to do that. So it's important that you practice this in your daily life and exercise that muscle of active listening, because it's going to make it so much easier for you to have these conversations, to remember details about people, to remember their names, to remember details about conversations, so you can keep that conversation going and continuing. And it's something that a lot of people need to be working on, myself included. But it's really important that you do actively, listen during those conversations. So a trick that you could do when you're trying to practice this in your life is to, listen to people, give them your full attention when you're having a conversation, and repeat back what you heard in this conversation. So for example, if I'm hearing you correctly, this is what you mean. If that's correct, then this is what I think about this, or this is my question about this, right? So if you can repeat it back to show them that yes, you listened to what they were saying, you absorbed it, you're evaluating it in your head, and then you are giving your response. that's a good way to start practicing this active listening and trying to incorporate in your daily conversations, because we have conversations all day long, right? So how many times can you be practicing this active listening habit? Okay, again, it's a muscle. It's a something that you need to be training yourself on regularly. Otherwise, it's just not going to stick. Okay, and I just want to give an example of why this is so important. So I actually have a good friend who was just raving about an acquaintance that she has, that she sees a few times a year. She doesn't see her very much, but every time this person remembers their conversation from last time they met. So she remembers the details, she remembers the themes that they talked about, the topics, and she's always bringing those back. So, it feels like they never left each other. Okay, and this is an acquaintance. It's somebody she sees a few times a year, and she has these things in her memory that she can bring back and have this conversation. So she's always, feeling connected to this person. How cool is that? How does that make you feel when someone does that for you? When they remember details about your conversation and, you just can, it's easy to talk to them, right? So being able to have that, active listening, quality is so important, whether, again, it's job search, whether it's meeting new people or anything. Honestly, it's such an important skill set. So definitely, if you could take away one habit that you want to exercise and work on, it's active listening for sure. All right, and I just want to kind of mention a few other habits in terms of your conversation skills that you can start incorporating into your job interviews, your networking, that you can kind of start building over time so it's easier. And then we'll get to questions. But some other things is that you could be doing are, if you're having a group conversation, make sure that people are included. So for example, if you're in a panel interview and you have a bunch of interviewers and there's one person who's really taking the lead, that's great, but see if you can incorporate those other people in that conversation to make them feel included. So that way it shows them that you realize, yes, they're there, they're part of the conversation, I want them to be a part of this conversation, they feel included. And so that's going to make them remember you, it's going to make you more likable. Another thing that you can be doing is to show a little vulnerability in your conversations. So small talk is great for breaking the ice, but it doesn't really do much more than that, right? So how much can you talk about the weather with somebody, right? It doesn't really tell you anything about this person. It's just a way to kind of break the ice. If you can share something that's, a little bit deeper, that's really where your connection's going to start. Okay, you're relatable, you've got, things to share, you're a human, showing a little bit of vulnerability in your conversations is really key, and that's, again, where you start connecting with somebody. Okay, you start relating with somebody. Of course, you don't want to go into so much detail and tell, everything about your life and go into TMI, but showing a little bit of, vulnerability in those conversations is really key to those connections. And another thing that I really love when people do is when you're having a conversation, it's a group setting, and you get interrupted. Okay, you're telling a story, you get interrupted, and after this interruption is over, someone says, "Oh, well, Ariella, what were you saying about, so and so and so?" This person, saw that you were interrupted and wanted to make sure that you realized, that they were still listening. And that's really important because it makes you feel like you're heard, people are actually listening, and that what you're saying is really, meaningful. It really matters. And that is instantly going to make you more likable. It's going to make you, someone who I would want to talk to, right? So they want you to be included in that conversation. They want to make sure that you're saying what you need to be saying, and that you're not forgotten about in this conversation. And honestly, I know somebody who does this, and I love it because it's, what a great way to connect with somebody, okay? So those are just a few habits that you can be incorporating into your conversations that can translate into job interviews, translate into networking, anything like that. These are really important habits to start incorporating into your conversations for sure. All right, so I hope that helps. If you have any other habits or techniques in terms of job interviews or conversations that you want to share, please do so in the chat. I would love to see them. All right, let's go to questions here. Let's see. Question, do you offer a resume / LinkedIn revamp? So great question. So yes, we actually, inside of our program, the professional or executive level, we do offer resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn reviews, and we'll give you feedback. We'll tell you exactly what you need to be changing. You will have to do the changing part of that, but we have some great templates inside of there, and we'll tell you exactly what you need to be doing in order to start getting success from those materials. The LinkedIn group does not offer this, but our professional and executive levels do. And it's really helpful. People find that this is the best part of the program, is getting those reviews, getting that feedback. It's really pinpointed for you and what you're looking to do and how you're looking to market yourself. So definitely check it out. All right, question. How many details should one give in an interview about taking time off from work due to being a family caregiver? Great question. We actually had a recent video on this. I think it was this happened, so definitely check that out. But if you had to take, some time off to care for a sick family member, so what you can do is actually put this in your resume and say, primary caregiver from, this date to this date. And then you can just explain, I had to take some time off to care for a family member, but as long as you resolve this and say, well, now this issue is resolved and it made me realize how much I missed working, and I'm really looking forward to jumping back into the workforce and contributing using my skills and expertise. Okay, so as long as you explain, this is why I have this gap, this is what happened, and it's resolved, so you're easing any concerns from the employer about, is this going to be an ongoing issue? Is this going to be, a problem moving forward? So if you resolve that, that's, excellent. And then you kind of go over that enthusiasm for, yes, I'm ready to get back into the workforce. I'm ready to start contributing again using my skills and expertise. So that would be my advice to you. All right. Question. What are the differences between US and UK CVs / resumes? So great question. So there are a few differences. For example, there are some countries that you would require a photo in the top of your resume, but for the most part, the format that we teach translates across the world. There are obviously a few subtle differences here and there, again, like the photo, for example, but as long as it's easy to read and you're incorporating the right information, then it's going to apply. So if you're working with us inside of our program, we can work with you on specific details in terms of what you should be showcasing, what you need to be putting on that resume, and what you can be leaving off. But for the most part, the template that we provide inside of our program is very simple. Just showcases that service that you provide, your skill sets, and your work history for the most part, and then that's pretty much all you need to know in most cases. All right. Question. What does it mean when your LinkedIn profile has a large number of views? Great question. So that probably means that you have a very well optimized LinkedIn profile. You're showcasing the right relevant skill sets for your brand and for that service that you provide. So for example, if you're a customer support specialist and you're showcasing customer service, customer support, troubleshooting, all those skill sets that are required for that service that you provide, and you're kind of putting that all over your profile, those keywords, any of that language that relates to that, that's going to make it more likely that you show up in search results when a recruiter is looking for, customer service representatives or customer support specialists. So that means your profile is very well optimized. So, great work. The other thing it could mean is that your profile is, promoted somewhere. Perhaps you had a LinkedIn article that, did very well and people are looking at you, or you commented on something and a lot of people are looking at your profile based on, that. But chances are it's probably that you have a really well optimized profile for that service that you provide. So great work. All right. Question. What is the best attire for an interview? I don't like wearing heels. What other shoes can be worn? Great question. So when you're going into an interview, it's really important that you do your homework here so you understand the dress code of this organization that you're going into. So if this organization is, very formal, business attire, you want to make sure that you're dressing up and, you're wearing a suit, you're going with that dress code. If they're more casual, you want to appreciate that and you want to recognize that and you know, dress a level above that. So you would go business casual to show them respect, but also to recognize that they are a more casual environment and you're not walking in with a, you know, full-on business suit. And I think I've told this story before, but I'll share it again. My first internship interview that I went on, it was on a farm it was a public relations internship, and I walked in with a white suit, pinstripes, on a farm. Did not consider the fact that it was, you know, a farm. And I walked in and everybody just straight up laughed at me and they're like, oh, well, you're taking this pretty seriously, huh? And, you know, it was hilarious because, you know, I didn't even consider the fact that, you know, maybe I should tone that back a little bit, but still be, you know, respectful and, you know, have some professional attire, just not full on business suit. So it's really important that you understand what you're going into so you can adjust accordingly. Now, in terms of the heel thing, if you don't like wearing heels, that's okay. Just wear a nice, you know, flat with your outfit. You don't have to wear heels. I personally love wearing heels, but I understand that, you know, they're not for everybody. But you know, a nice flat can really complement your outfit for sure, and still look very professional. All right. Question: I've had my resume professionally written, but based on what JT has explained about the applicant tracking software, is there a way to test my resume drafted in 2016 to see if my resume drafted in 2016 is still valid with 2019 software? So what you can do is, I mean, you can't, there's really no test, because every applicant tracking system is different based on the organization, what they're looking for, what the key skill sets. There is a you know, program or platform called JobScan that will help you kind of identify what keywords are on your resume, but you don't want to take that. They give you a little score and everything. We don't recommend taking that score. We recommend taking it with a grain of salt, because again, it's all dependent on the organization, what they're looking for, the job, what kind of skill sets and requirements. It all varies. But the best way that you can optimize your resume for the particular job, and you should always customize your resume for the job that you're applying to, always, hands down. The best way to really customize and make sure that you're focusing on the right information is to look at the job description, go through and scan it for hard skill sets. You know, make a list of those hard skill sets: customer service, you know, troubleshooting, you know, IT support, things like that. You scan it for those hard job specific skills, make a list, and then other keywords. You know, are there any software programs that you need to be proficient in? Do you need to have any expertise in any, you know, or any industry expertise? Go through and make a list of, you know, keywords, skill sets, industry expertise, anything that you can. And then go through that list, cross off anything that you don't have, and bring that remaining list over and incorporate it into your resume. Because that's really going to help you optimize that resume so you are hitting on the most relevant things. You're branding yourself for this type of opportunity. You're showing them that you understand the role and how you can add value there. And it's going to help you get through that ATS system much more effectively, because you're really honing in on that specific job. Okay, like I said, they're all wired differently depending on the opportunity. So you want to make sure that you're being really specific here. Okay, very important. So I hope that helps. And we actually have a really great, I call it a skills table inside of our program that will help you organize all of that, so you can make sure that you're, you know, incorporating the right information. Great question. All right. Question: what is the best avenue for finding a job? I graduated in 2004. Since then, I'm unable to find a real job, real job. I'm in retail and super frustrated. LinkedIn profile, help, or looking for a temp agency for work. Just looking for advice on other avenues in LinkedIn advice, may go back to school. Okay, so if you're having a hard time finding a job, I would wonder how you're going about finding work. So if you're spending all of your time, you know, applying online, if you're obviously focusing on your LinkedIn, you know, that's the LinkedIn piece is great. But if you're spending all of your time applying to jobs online via job boards, it's not the most effective way to, you know, find an opportunity. It's definitely not the most effective way, to land a job, because only about 3% of candidates who apply online actually end up getting an opportunity. That's how competitive it is, because it's so accessible, right? So it's important for you to look at those job boards and see what's out there, and see what kinds of companies and opportunities are available. But also, more importantly, you need to be thinking about your networking. So think about, the top companies that you want to be looking at, the top companies you want to be pursuing and working at, and make a list. And then you want to start networking your way into those organizations. So start, asking somebody to connect within, organization A on LinkedIn. Say, hey, I'm a huge fan of your company. I'd love to learn more about it and what you do there. Let's connect. And that's a great way to start that networking and to break the ice, to get a connection there. Then from there, you can get introduced to other people within the organization, and so on and so on. And that's how you can build a network within an organization. And that's really important, because once people see that you have a service you provide, maybe they need to have that service, people within the organization, if they like you, if they think that you have potential, they can vouch for you in that organization. That's really going to help you move forward, because yes, you might have to apply online for certain opportunities, but it's important that you go around that and you circumvent that process and have the real human connection, because that's what's going to help you stand out. Okay, again, only about 3% of candidates actually get an opportunity when they apply online, just applying online. That's pretty crazy. So it's not the best use of your time. Networking is really important, because again, it adds that human element. You can really tell your story. You can tell them why you're such a big fan of the organization, why it means so much to you to be able to contribute your skills and expertise at that organization. And it's really going to help you much more than just kind of doing the blind online application process. Okay, so definitely focus on that. You can work in temp agencies to get gain skill sets, hone skill sets. Some of them even have temp to hire opportunities, which is great. So you can definitely explore that, but absolutely think about what are those top 10 companies that you want to be working for, and start networking your way in, because that's really the best way. And we have a whole course dedicated to this inside of our program, so we definitely consider that. All right. Question, how should you handle a job you've been fired from on your resume? Great question. So we get this question a lot, and it's, I know it seems daunting, but the thing is, you have to address it. You put that organization, that opportunity in your resume, like you would any other opportunity. And when you're asked about, why did you leave this job, you would, answer it using our experience. I'm sorry, totally drawing a blank here. Experience, learn, grow method. Okay, so what you would do is you would talk about the experience, talk about what happened. Don't go into super detail. There's no need to go into all the drama, or if anything happened that, just keep it to this is what happened. This is what I learned from that experience. Take some ownership there and say, what could I have done differently in this situation? And then show them how you've grown. Say, this was a powerful experience for me. It really taught me X, Y, and Z. And, I'm really looking forward to, joining a new organization and, with this lesson, being a better employee. I think this experience has made me a better employee in the long run. Okay, so showing, again, that experience, learn, grow method when you're asked why did you leave this job, or why were you fired from this opportunity, is really important, because you're telling them what happened, you're taking ownership, and then you're showing them this is resolved, it's going to make me a better employee because this happened. Okay, so if you just ignore it and you say, well, something happened and I ended up leaving, or if you don't take any ownership and you're blaming others, those are not really going to reflect well on you. So it's important that you take this approach. And we actually have a really great video on our YouTube channel that addresses this. Okay, it's called Explaining Why You Left Your Last Job. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. All right. Question, one of my CVs is aiming at a director/senior roles. Can you add some info on buzzwords and any tips so I can secure interviews? So great question. So this is kind of what we addressed earlier, is, go to that job description, really do your homework in this opportunity, understand, the skills that are going to be needed for this, any software programs that you're going to need to have proficiency in, and any other industry expertise, and really zone in on that on your resume. Okay, if you have the experience and you have transferable skill sets, you can apply this. That's great, but it's really important that you go and look at those specific buzzwords, those specific keywords and skill sets, and anything else on that job description, so you can really tailor your resume for that opportunity. Because it's, as if you have a resume that speaks directly to that type of opportunity, it's going to make you, people are going to be able to see your value quicker and clearer. So going through and studying that opportunity, really understanding what you're going to be doing, what skill sets you're going to be needing to leverage, what expertise you need to have, and what other requirements, that's really going to help you brand yourself for those opportunities and stand out in the hiring process. So I hope that helps. All right, everybody. Oh my gosh, that 30 minutes went by so quickly. Sorry if I didn't get to all of your questions, but again, definitely check out our free trial in our Facebook group if you want to get your questions answered. We'll put more information on that in the chat. And if you want more help in terms of reviews, resume writing, or resume reviews, cover letters, LinkedIn, all that great stuff, definitely check out our professional level subscription inside the program. It's really great, and we have coaches in there all the time answering questions. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. All right, so thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.